Okay. All right. Do you have a nickname?
I do.
I'm trying to think of one real quick. Hold on, let me just Google, funny things with peach in the name.
But they are ruthless, hungry and in power again.
What's up? What's up, Internet? Welcome to Equals 3. I'm Ray William Johnson, your host, here to show you all the coolest, funniest clips from the Internet from this week. Just kidding, this is Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, Not a Threat.
Just a fact.
Do you know who Ray William Johnson was, or was that just confusing to you?
That was completely over my head, but that's okay.
That's fine. Honestly, I envy you for not knowing who Ray William Johnson is. Anyways, I'm Sara, aka Impeach.cool.
I am Matt, aka John Bird Crow.
I don't know if I get it, but I like it.
John Bird Crow is the head of Bird Parliament, the Speaker of Bird Parliament.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I've been gone for a fucking minute because I've been busy and depressed and other things.
Yeah.
But it's me, it's Sara, back again. I'm here rounding out my collection of hosts that I have hosted with, because you were for a brief period the only one who I hadn't hosted with.
The elusive host.
The elusive host, and I was just worried you would wise up and leave the podcast before I got a chance to.
I could have remained as the real Loch Ness Monster of podcasting.
That's right. Me and Matt are the only two people on this podcast who've been on an episode with everyone, because a friend of the podcast, Andy, was on a very early episode that I was on, and then Matt was on an episode with them after they were forced to retire from the podcast. Anyways, this is lore that you as a listener probably already know, but Matt doesn't. Maybe, I don't know.
I'll add it to the wiki.
Just added to our entry on the SCP page.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's HKIP, baby. It's good again. Woo. You ready to talk? Hey, hey, Matt, ask me how I'm feeling.
How you feeling?
I'm peachy. Do you get it?
Oh, because we want to impeach the president.
Well, no, it's because the president's orange. Is he getting impeached?
Oh.
Yeah, I was doing a funny insult. Everyone calls him an orange, and I was trying to change it up a little bit because it's a little bit reductive. I mean, it's not exactly the fault of the fruit that it shares a name with the color, but it just feels a little bit like, yeah, it's an orange, all that stuff. I kind of felt peach worked a little bit better. But anyways, yeah. So there's impeachment hearings happening finally in the aftermath of a. So this all dates back to last week, shortly after the last episode was recorded, a day after maybe.
Was that the first time the president did something wrong?
Yeah, the very first time the president has ever done anything wrong.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. A rare misstep from our commander in chief over here. But you can't tell, but I pronounce that commander in chief. I spelled it C-U-M.
He stinks.
You got stinky cum?
No.
You see a doctor if that's an issue you're dealing with. There was I don't exactly remember the exact inciting point of this, but there was a phone call to the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. There was a phone call that happened back in June that recently someone found out that the White House was trying to suppress a whistleblower complaint. They were trying to bury it. It was something that got released in that I believe it came out in that press thing on that thing they do on Fridays when they want to bury a story, which is just to say something at the very end of the day, walk out of the office, be like, quitting time, bye guys. didn't really work because a lot of the news stories picked it up and ran with it. And now we have, because the context of the phone call was basically that Trump was saying he would refuse, he would refuse Ukraine, the military aid that they wanted.
Yeah.
Unless they launch an investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and his, like, quote unquote meddling or what the fuck ever.
Right.
And I gotta say, I've heard the word Ukraine more times in the last 3 days than I've heard in the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just it's just not a country you think about too much.
I mean, yeah, it rarely comes up. I feel like it's great to be a Ukrainian at the moment. Really, got a lot to talk about. Yeah. I guess. I think actually, if you're from Ukraine, you've had a lot to talk about for a really long time.
Yeah. But so this is what caused all of the establishment Democrats to finally say this is a bridge too far. It's like that scene from Community. It's like that scene from Community where it's like I can excuse racism, but I draw the line at making fun at like harassing fail sons of former vice presidents.
Yeah.
Like the instant we will let all amounts of racism and child internment and fucking like murder and everything, that's fine. But the instant you threaten our children's access to cushy jobs where they don't have to do anything, you, sir, threaten America.
It had to be one of these weird misdemeanors that Trump had. It couldn't actually have been any of like the outright.
No. It had to be like this is like. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is like still definitely 100% criminal action, but also like it's very funny that this is what's causing the Democrats to move, and like. As is always the case, there were like prior to this, Pelosi was so up against impeachment because she was like, the polling doesn't show it. No one is really in favor of it, despite what some of my colleagues may say, referring to the fact that AOC, among others, had been calling for his impeachment well before this.
Yeah.
And then as soon as this comes out, Pelosi's like, "Yep, impeachment time. Time to pay the piper, motherfucker." And like public opinion of impeachment swelled by like 15%.
That's so frustrating.
Well, I mean, that's just because it's how it is. Because like the average Democratic voter probably does not like the average Democratic voter is probably going to go along with the status quo, and it's a little bit. It's like it's cyclical. It's tautological. The Democratic voters don't like impeachment because it's not what the Democratic Party wants. Because it's not what the Democratic voters want. Because it's not what the Democratic Party wants. And it just goes in this circle. And I don't know if they're being willfully ignorant or lazy or anything, but it's just really frustrating. But anyways, so this is now all coming to a head, and Trump was trying to play chicken with this for a little bit. He was like, I will release the phone calls. I will release the transcript. So we get a memo, to be clear, and this is going to be a brief tangent I'm going to go on because it was a memo of the phone call, and I saw a lot of really irresponsible journalism going around referring to it as a transcript because that is the word that people were looking for. And big, like CNN, even like big as CNN was reporting it was a transcript, which this may just seem like semantics, but there is a very important distinction between them because a transcript is a verbatim recollection of what happened. A memo is a recounted description of what happened. So this is not to say that the memo is fraudulent in any way, but it is not a transcript, and that fact is a very important fact to pay attention to here, especially when it comes to all the legalese flying around.
Yeah, that feels like really irresponsible reporting to like use transcript. I know it's like you said, like it's what people need to hear, but like it's such a cliche 24-hour news cycle thing to just be like, okay, well they've released something, so okay, rather than looking at it critically, because like at the end of the day, probably everyone at the White House is shitting themselves that the transcript does come out, and the fact that the memo's come out and the news has run with it, they're going to be like, oh, perfect, these idiots have fallen for it again.
Yep. The thing that really fucks with me about this is that like that's not even a spin that like the president said and was repeated by the media. This was I'm just reading from the top. I'm looking at the document itself right now. Unclassified, package number short, declassified by order of the president, et cetera, et cetera. Memorandum of telephone conversation. The word transcript is not in this.
Yeah.
There's now like an asterisk on the New York Times and whatever about this, but when this was breaking news, all I was seeing was transcript. But anyways, so the memorandum comes to light and they're like, all right, time to move on impeachment hearings. And then it was either Monday or Tuesday night. I can't remember off the dome. Pelosi was like, all right, we're doing this thing. And then hashtag President Pelosi was trending. So say hello to your new president. Well, not your new president because you're Scottish, but...
I mean, basically whoever the president is
we welcome Queen. We welcome Khaleesi Pelosi. Wait, hold on. There's a joke to be made there. Pelosi Targaryen. Well, the thing is that like Khaleesi was never like king whatever. It was just Khaleesi. It was not Khaleesi Daenerys. So that doesn't exactly work the way I want it to, but Pelosi is like a kind of a half rhyme with Khaleesi. So
Khaleesi.
any Pelosi, do not do this thing. But yeah, and then yesterday there was the whistleblower complaint itself that leaked out, and like Trump is like looking for blood with this whistleblower pretty obviously. Like he is like just being as threatening as he possibly can without outright threatening the man.
Yeah.
And he's going to step over that line eventually, I'm sure. And the New York Times, in their infinite wisdom, decided to publish some information that narrowed it down from like tens of thousands of people to maybe like 100 people. Like in very much the same way that who was it that broke the reality winner story? Was it The Intercept? Do you remember that?
For which? Was it for the Bachelorette?
No. Reality winner was the name of a person.
Reality winner, right?
Yeah. Which is... I made that same mistake for like the first week of that news cycle. Just because I was like, damn, I didn't know like it's so weird that they're not using her name in this headline. I guess they just want to protect her identity and just refer to her as reality winner, but like, I mean, there can't be that many reality show winners. And then I found out, her name is just... Yes, okay, it was The Intercept that, like, kind of leaked her... They didn't dox her specifically, but they were able to narrow the field to the point that the people were able to figure out who had sent the documents to The Intercept. And the New York Times published a very irresponsible thing the other day that was saying, like, yeah, so this guy, he works at the CIA, he probably works on this, he works on that. And, like, just heinously irresponsible reporting from the New York Times, which is not very surprising because it is the New York Times after all, and they are such wonderful bastions of journalism that, it's also frustrating, but we are enjoying seeing Trump have one of the most normal ones in his entire life. I'm going to hop on over to Real Donald Trump right now on Twitter. God, it really sucks that if I type twitter.com into my browser, the first autofill is my profile and the second is Trump's. Oh my God.
I think I saw one earlier.
Oh my God. Okay, his pinned tweet is currently a video of Biden slander. And not that Biden should not be slandered, I'd like to be clear, but it's Biden slander, and it is, the video is captioned, "I am draining the swamp." All
caps, exclamation point.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yep. He also, here's a great one. If that perfect phone call with the president of Ukraine isn't considered appropriate, then no future president can ever speak to another foreign leader. So he cannot stop calling it the perfect phone call. He's referring to, But you know what? Sometimes broken clock right twice a day, because he did tweet earlier today, the Democrats are now known as the Do Nothing Party. So, Donald Trump, welcome to the left.
Yeah. Welcome to the resistance. You have to presume that the fact that he keeps talking about it as a perfect phone call is that it had a happy ending at the end of it. I can't think of a situation in which you would go, that was the perfect phone call. Like, okay, there are two options. There are that, and then
I've had like meals that I would describe as like, oh, that was like the perfect chicken, and I did not get jerked off under the table during them.
Sure. Okay, so I'll present my second option.
All right, what's your bet? Like, all right, yeah, yep. So you missed on 3, and now you're missed on 3rd down. Got to drop back, punt. What's the punt?
The punt is he was okay. Let me reframe this. The only other time I can think that there would be a perfect phone call is if you phone someone up and you need one thing, and you go, can you investigate Joe Biden for whatever? I'm having some bother with him. And then they go, yes, absolutely. And then they hang up. So there's phone call with a happy ending. Okay, I'm admitting it's an outside shot. Second is, the perfect phone call is him asking them exactly what he wants and them saying, yes, we will do that. So it's probably not perfect.
I don't know. Maybe we're just going to see in like 2 weeks, they're going to be like, just like release all the tapes, and like, we're just going to see on MSNBC, what's her name? I can't remember her name, the one who looks, the lady who looks really gay, but my brain filled it in with Rachel Dolezal, which I'm pretty sure isn't correct.
I don't know many American news people.
That's fair. Do you remember who Rachel Dolezal was, at least?
Oh, I remember Rachel Dolezal, sure.
Yeah, Maddow or something, I think is her name. I'm just imagining in 2 weeks, just her, just like kind of throwing up her hands, being like, yeah, it was the perfect phone call.
Wait, He's got us this time.
Yeah, hey, we got duped. What can they say? What can we say?
Impeachment is back off the table.
Win some, lose some. Anyways, but the Democrats announced on Wednesday night. It might have been the night. No, it was the day after it was declared. So this would have been Wednesday. They declared on Tuesday. So Wednesday, they declared that they would be honing in specifically on the Ukraine part of things and not every other crime that he has committed in like since he has started in his office, and no desire to do so, like not even paying attention to the I'm going to mispronounce the word, the emolument cases that have been popping up about like military guys like using military budget to stay at Trump estates and stuff.
Yeah. And
hopefully, with any luck, these cases those like crimes will be so interconnected that they cannot like. This is not going to be. Hopefully, this will not be just like a thing of pickup sticks where they can just like gingerly pick up the Ukraine thing and
and drive with it.
But I don't know why they're trying. This is basically just like pulling out. This one's for all the hashtag gamers in the chat, but this is like pulling out a sniper at point blank range when you have a fully loaded shotgun.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to no scope.
You're going for the precision shot from 2 inches away, and like they say, I think it's because they want to get it done quickly, which is no, that seems like a bad idea. But whatever, they want to get it done this year because maybe they're afraid that Mitch McConnell is going to invoke his "Hey, come on, not during an election year, guys" rule again, and they'll force to be like, "Oh shucks."
Well, it's weird because it feels like they don't want him to actually go to jail. Like it seems like.
Well, that's not what. An impeachment hearing is not for jail time.
Yeah, I know, but like.
Sorry, I just wanted to clear that up for anyone listening who does not know that, because I didn't know that until 3 days ago when I listened to a podcast about it.
Is there another word for it?
For what?
Like for like being arrested while in office. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, there is like a law that you cannot be brought up on legal charges while in office, which is why Pelosi's been angling to do it. You can have someone impeached and then tried for crimes, but you cannot have them tried for crimes while they are president of the United States. And that's why Pelosi was trying to pass that law about arresting the current president, because that's going to be way easier and way less lengthy than the impeachment proceedings or what the fuck ever. They're worried about optics. They're worried about optics on this, and like they always point to it's just infuriating. Like there isn't like, it's interesting how they were like, we can't. This is going to make Trump stronger than ever if we move on this. And like ever since it's happened, he's just been tweeting like twice an hour, just being like, my didn't commit crimes shirt is raising a hell of a lot of questions that are answered by the shirt. Witch hunt. No president has ever been treated as badly as I have been.
I am having the worst normal day. I don't know, like, it's so scattergun to just target one thing when, like you said, like they're all so interconnected, and like at the end of the day, if you start pulling at the thread, like surely the whole jumper is going to come off. Like,
yes, exactly.
Like, it just doesn't seem that there's any other way, and it's sort of like they're like, well, like we don't need to, like, it's not going to be good electorally for us to go after this stuff, so let's not bother. It's like, no, the reason you do an impeachment is because the law was broken, so you need to, like, you guys love the law so much, like, you need to, like, live or die by it here, because otherwise you're gonna die.
Yeah. I'm gonna head over to CNN real quick, see if there's any, like, breaking news about the... Oh yeah, Giuliani is also experiencing Meltdown May here in September, which is so wonderful, because as much as Trump is to see speak sometimes in video, I will always cherish footage of Rudy just, like, owning himself into a... Like, you let that man... if you let Trump talk for 20 minutes, he will contradict himself 100 times. If you let Rudy talk for 1 minute, he will implicate himself in a major felony 40 times. He's on Twitter, like, posting screenshots of text messages and shit. Like, this man is more dangerous to Trump than Trump himself is at this point.
I just opened up Twitter to see if I could get like one of these stills that I've been seeing of Rudy Giuliani, and every single news article that I'm scrolling past has the same still image of him. And it looks like he's going, yeah, well, it was a crime, but listen, don't worry about it.
I keep seeing video of him, like, putting his arms at his side and, like, stiffening his torso and then just kind of wobbling back and forth in his chair. Yeah. As, like, the punchline to a joke, and I don't get the joke. Oh, God. Yeah, but the only reason I was running to that, because the front page of CNN right now is Giuliani saying that he can't testify against the president because of attorney-client privilege.
Incredible.
Which, I'll concede, I only took, like, one law class in college. I don't really know how attorney-client privilege works. I don't think it works like that. But anyways, so we are all in the States feeling absolutely peachy about this, by which I mean we're not. We have no faith in the Democrats to do any of this remotely correctly. But, you know, maybe Trump's head will finally just explode Scanner's style.
Fingers crossed. Every morning I wake up, I pray for it, I stick my VHS in, and we go. Can
you imagine a world where... I am not saying that I want President Pelosi or anything. I'm not saying that that's what I want, but I'm just saying imagine a world where Trump and Pence both get successfully impeached and Pelosi becomes president, and then suddenly the Republican Party has to scramble to find a challenger, and they have to prop up, like, the 2 or 3 guys who have been trying to challenge the incumbency. These 2 or 3 guys who they have been, like, running through the muck for the last 6 months because they dared to challenge their God Emperor in Chief. That's gonna be really fucking fun. Oh, that would be very fun.
Oh man!
And one other thing about this is that this is all speculative. Sorry, Matt, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I was actually just gonna ask, like, who have those guys even got these days? Like,
let me look. Republican presidential candidates. Here we go. Their names are Mark Sanford, Joe Walsh, and Bill Weld. Joe Walsh is the only one that I recognize at first.
Joe Walsh is that TV guy, right?
I only recognize Joe Walsh as the guy who I see on Twitter sometimes, but only because people quote tweet him and say, "Pay your child support, Joe."
Yeah. I think that's how I know him too.
Yeah.
So President Joe Walsh. Presidential candidate Joe Walsh. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah. Another thing about this is all speculation. This is not like anything anyone's reported on, but I'm kind of worried that this is going to, like, buoy Joe Biden in the polls just because his son is at the center of it. And if we know one thing about Joe Biden, it's that he loves milking his children for good press. As we saw with that thing, with those ads from, like, a month ago that were just like, if you take away the Affordable Care Act, my dead cancer son you will spit upon his grave. You will press S to spit upon my dead son's grave. And now he's just going to be able to do that again with Hunter and be like, my family was Trump is scared of me. He had to go to Ukraine to beat me. That's why you got to vote for me, because I got the best chance of, and I'm worried he's going to shoot up again in the polls. I hope he doesn't, but...
Yeah, it's a possibility. It is one of those things where Joe Biden could be like, I am the worst treated presidential candidate of all time. And people would love that. They'd retweet it like, oh my god, he's referencing Trump.
Oh, God.
Our base president.
Christ, that dealt me psychic damage. Do you remember when Hillary quote tweeted Trump and said, delete your account?
I'll never forget it. I've got a poster of it on my wall. And I throw darts at it every day.
Right next to your 1,000 I'm with her mugs that you have fashioned into a bust of Hillary.
And my follow back pro EU placard that I took to the, I don't know.
And I do want to say, when I talk about a bust of Hillary, I do mean a bust. Like I don't really agree with you for doing this, but man, you gave Hillary some huge titties on that statue.
Sorry.
Hey, listen, everyone's got to crank it to something, all right? Oh yeah, one last thing about the impeachment stuff before we shunt off of that is that the House of Representatives might be going on vacation for 2 weeks, but also might not be. It's still kind of up in the air. Like they were before this impeachment hearing was declared, they were scheduled to be on a 2-week recess.
Right.
And we don't know yet if they have decided to move forward with that 2-week recess.
Yeah, I imagine that will be telling as to the outcome of impeachment hearings.
Next, I just want to talk about a downside of being on the bleeding edge sometimes. Last week, we were the first podcast to break the news of Mr. Justin himself, Daddy Trudeau, doing brownface. But what we failed to cover, which was unearthed like maybe 12 hours after the episode was recorded, was that he did brownface not only a second time, but also a third. And I should clarify that there were instances of both brown and blackface that surfaced. And he went on television and was like, I cannot say that I have never, I cannot say that I have never done it again. So I cannot say that those are the only photos of me out there. And basically, like, I cannot stop doing blackface.
But you have to understand.
Can you imagine being like, okay, in 2001, I don't think I would have, I feel like no, why would I have said this last time I was, anyways, 2001, I don't think I really would have caught that, like, known really that blackface was bad. Maybe, like, I probably wouldn't have, like, felt, like, good, but if someone asked me, I wouldn't be able to, like, say, oh yeah, that's bad because X, Y, or Z. But the thing is, in 2001, I was 7 years old, and Justin Trudeau was 28 years old.
Oh.
Which is when the offending incident, which is when I don't know if all of the photos were taken in 2001, but at least one of, the most recent one was taken in 2001.
So he did it at least once. Maybe either side of 28, right?
What's that?
Either side of 28, he did it at least once. So,
yep.
Maybe it was 1999, maybe it was in 2003. I can't say that I've done it more than one. Like,
because we have him on camera 3 times. He's like, I don't remember if those are the only times I ever did blackface. There might have been more. I don't know.
Why do you keep asking me about this?
He's getting owned on Twitter right now because he tweeted, like, planting 2 billion trees. That's it. That's the tweet. And, like, Jagmeet Singh, and Jagmeet Singh Jagmeet Singh and, one of the other political parties that is more left than him. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head because, like, political parties are a lot. But they both, like, quote tweeted him and were like, okay, so why did you buy a pipeline, Justin? Why did you buy the pipeline, Daddy Justin? And I saw a really good tweet that was a response to it. I saw a really good reply to it, which was the conservatives' view of Canada, the conservatives' ideal Canada versus the liberals, and it was just the same picture of, like, a bunch of pipes in, like, the middle of a field, except for the one liberals one had like a green filter over it, which I thought was funny. So yeah, keep it up, Justin. Matt, what's going on with how's Brexit?
Also, we're having a normal one.
Oh, great!
As usual, everything is fine and nothing has gone absolutely off the rails. There's been stuff this week about. I'll read the headline because it's I can't wrap my head around it. Amber Rudd accuses Number 10 of language that incites violence. So Amber Rudd is former cabinet minister for the Conservatives. And, I mean, there's like hundreds of people in hundreds of MPs in Parliament saying like, we are getting like death threats. The language that you're using about Brexit is like completely dangerous. He's said stuff like traitor, treason. He's been calling this film.
So hold on. Which side is getting death threats?
Both. It basically has majorly been for like pro-Remain MPs that have been receiving this stuff. So one of the highest profile. Yeah. What are the chances?
Wasn't who was that politician in the UK who got shot in the face and died?
Jo Cox. Yeah.
Yes. Was she a pro-Remain MP?
Yep, she was, and she was a Labour MP. And Boris Johnson actually, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, said that the best way to honour Jo Cox would be to deliver Brexit, which is just ludicrous. And then in the same session...
Oh my god, I'm not in UK politics. I'm not in the UK, I've never been, but I feel a very strong need to just fucking cap that man.
Yeah.
Parody.
And he said humbug today when someone
Sorry.
Yeah, I think the exact quote was like, oh, and humbug to that, and then carried on with his argument. But it was a MP saying that she was really troubled by the language that he used in regards to surrender, considering that, this was actually, he said humbug right before the Jo Cox thing.
Oh my god.
About the death threats and stuff like that people have been receiving. So Angela Rayner, who's a pretty sort of great MP for somewhere in the north of England, got death threats from a British Army member. I'm trying to find the news article actually, but it was a member of British Armed Forces, and immediately, like, obviously the entire military pyramid was like rushing to apologise for this sort of thing, as if like, oh no, there are no extremely violent, dangerous people here. No, not us. That's just a strange man.
Yeah,
he just walked in.
The guy who shot Jo Cox actually walked over from a different country and was not from Britain. He just walked in a straight line until he reached Britain and then killed Jo Cox.
And said Britain first by accident.
Yeah, accident. Yeah, he meant to say whatever country he was from first, but he forgot. He was in the middle of saying it, and then he saw a British flag and was like, Britain first.
Yeah. He also mentioned riot in the streets if Brexit wasn't delivered. So, like, almost all of his language has
That's not a threat or anything.
Yeah, so it's all been incitements of violence, and he's basically, instead of walking it back or anything like that, he's just basically said, no, that's not an incitation of violence. I don't think violence is good. Blah, and then, because that's how he speaks. And,
but Boris kind of like got in big trouble last week, right?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say he's been in more trouble in the last week than
the week prior.
Yeah, the week prior.
I could have sworn I saw some headline that was like, so Boris got found guilty of doing a big oopsie, and like he like had like declared what was it? He declared Parliament. He declared a prorogue, or when he was like not permitted.
Oh, sure,
to or something. And so my question is like, how is that like not a step down? If not permanently, then at least temporary. Like, why is he still like doing things? And I guess it's because everything is a process the same way that impeachment is. But like,
yeah,
is it just kind of like a Trump thing? Like, no one has stopped him, so he's just going to kind of keep going.
No, I think like it's moving so quickly at the moment. It's really, really hard to like track what the important stuff is, because it feels like there's just so much noise around it. But
oh my god, hearing a UK native say that feels so good, because I'm like, are we Americans just too dumb to understand it? But hearing you say it's confusing it's a salve.
There's just so much going on. So Boris Johnson was defeated in the so the prorogation was basically found to be unlawful, but that doesn't really get Boris Johnson in any trouble for the time being. It basically just says that like the government sort of did something that was unlawful. I'm not sure then what the sort of prosecution process for that is, and if someone has to pay, but it kind of feels like it's just like, no, Parliament can't do that, so stop it. And then but that
You've been very naughty.
But that doesn't really prevent all this stuff is specifically about like the Brexit discourse. Like, so one way or another, like people are going to be like threatened and like in danger in the MPs in the public sphere anyway, if they support Remain and are like outspoken about it. So this is going to happen in the lead up to Brexit. And
I mean, listen. This is like half a joke and half a legitimate thing, but like reducing this to a number statement, the number of Remainers that have killed Brexit politicians is 0. The number of Brexiters that have killed Remain politicians is 1.
Yeah.
And until anybody, like, until someone follows through with the nasty letters that the Brexiters are getting, which I would be very surprised if that happened. Like, I would be much more concerned if I was on the same side that Joe Cox was.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's why there's no, like, fixed in place, way to resolve that. And, like, Boris Johnson's gonna keep getting away with this and until he's, like, removed as Prime Minister. But the good news is we're probably closer than ever because the SNP are, looking like they're going to back Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister, as interim Prime Minister. So this is, I think, if we do a vote of no confidence and everyone says no to BoJo, as I'm going to start calling him.
No to BoJo?
No to BoJo, there, that's much better. BoJo's already his nickname, and it fell out of my brain.
Well, BoJo, I like BoJo because it makes me think of BOGO, so it's buy one, jack off.
Which sounds about right.
I hope that's the episode title.
If we do a vote of no confidence, then there needs to be like an interim Prime Minister, and that needs to be agreed upon by Parliament. And if SNP backs Labour, that's huge.
What's SNP?
The Scottish National Party. So that's
gotcha. Okay.
Like the huge, like a really big part of those who are elected in Scotland. Like it's quite small percentages for the other parties in Scotland. So in general,
they're basically the ruling body.
Yeah. So, and it also means that like Scotland have like a reasonably king-making role in Parliament too.
Yeah, they've got a seat. They've got a seat at the adults table.
Yeah, the majority of the time they do. So them supporting Labour is really, really big because obviously there's kind of ideological differences. Like SNP are just big centre-right party, really. So they want to remain in the EU, but that's about as much common ground as they have with like a lot of, I don't know, Remain groups and stuff like that.
Yeah. I really liked the part where the Brexiters like no, it wasn't even the Brexiters. It was what's the UK part? What's that?
The Sun newspaper did it.
The edit of Jezza in the chicken suit.
Yeah, and it looked like a mixtape cover. It was unreal.
Yeah, it looked like a mixtape cover that you would be disappointed by how bad the music was because of how good the album cover was.
Yeah, it's absolutely fire.
Like, it looks like something you would see on, like, the front page of Bandcamp's, like, new releases, and then you click on it, and then, like, the album cover it drew you in, and then the music is just run-of-the-mill, very
3 tracks of Trollop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. I loved that, really. And then the amount of, there's this tweet from a few years ago, which is by, like, a conservative pundit, and people just constantly, like, re-own him with his own material every single time there's something like this that comes out, where it's like, slowly but surely, the right is starting to get sense of social media, and it's, like, every single time there's, like, a photoshopped image of Jeremy Corbyn, and it says, like, spineless...
the left can't meme, or what the fuck ever.
Yeah, that's our version of the left can't meme.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It doesn't even say KFC, it says, like, spineless fried chicken.
Yep.
So they've backed out of the joke, by changing the words, but still made it fried chicken because it's got nothing to do with Jeremy Corbyn. And then it has underneath to clarify, in case you didn't get it, that it is Jeremy Corbyn that's been photoshopped on.
Okay, bit of a Mike Huckabee dismount on that joke. Wasn't there also something in the headlines recently about is the Liberal Party in the UK just called a Liberal Party?
The Liberal Democrats, yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't there a thing recently where like the leader of the Lib Dems was just like, we will make Brexit happen we will make Remain happen we will do Brexit without Corbyn, I promise.
Yeah.
Like, and like they were recently, like, who's the leader of the Lib Dems?
Jo Swinson.
Jo Swinson, yeah. She was, I remember seeing a headline recently from like a couple of months ago that was like, we will stop Brexit at any chance. And then Jezza is like, how about this? And the Lib Dems were like, Jezza is a fucking anti-Semite and deserves to die in hell.
Yeah. They were like, oh, yeah, we want to get Brexit off the table. And then Jeremy Corbyn's like, okay, so what about Brexit off the table? And they're like, we don't want anything to do with this guy. We don't know him. Like, immediately. Actually, hashtag resign Jo Swinson has been trending all day in the UK.
What did she do? What did she do this time? Because that thing that I brought up was from like a week and a half ago, not longer. She's
just continuing not to support Jeremy Corbyn and is saying that they won't support Labour in a general election, which presumably means that they're explicitly supporting the Tory party, but also potentially like forming a coalition with the Tory party, because they're not going to form a coalition and they're not going to like lead if they don't back the Tory party, which means that once again they've backed the Tory party over Labour. Like, oh man, they're the worst people. Oh my god! And then so she's going to get sacked.
Well, fingers crossed. I opened up Twitter for... I made a mistake and I opened Twitter and I went to the search tab because I wanted to look up Jo Swinson resign. But you explained it pretty eloquently, so I didn't have to, really. But I did see that in all caps, "You are the swamp" is trending.
Great. Well, that's
which I'm assuming is in reference to...
To Dawn. Dawn old Trump.
Yep. Okay. Wow, you love it.
We do...
All right. Did you have anything else to say on that?
No, I just think it's like, yet again, it just goes to show that like the right can say whatever the hell they want in any public sphere and then face absolutely no consequences for it. And it seems to be leaning extremely like, even the discourse seems like it's going to be more like in the UK like it is in the US, just based on the way Boris Johnson is behaving in office at the moment. It's terrible.
And this even extends to like the news. This even extends to like the newscasters, right? And on the flip side, that the lefts can't really say much of anything, because there was that story from BBC Breakfast with Naga Munchetty. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
What exactly was that whole thing about?
Yeah, she's been. I don't know what the punishment is, but she's been sort of found to have been impartial or broken impartiality rules by saying that Trump's comments about Ilhan Omar, that senators should go back to where they came from. Naga Munchetty said, well, I mean, that's obviously like deeply rooted in racism.
So the thing is, she didn't even say that. What she said was, I am not accusing anyone of anything, but but I have been told that in the past, and it was coming from a place of racism. If you look at her words with the same obsessiveness that people look at like Trump's words to like do like a triple backflip somersault to make sure that actually he said this, he used this word, which means like if you looked at that with any of that same scrutiny, like 1% of that same scrutiny, you could see that she was not saying Trump was racist. He is. And she probably thinks that he is, but she did not say that, and that is what she is being brought up on this censure for. And it's very like, I watched the clip, and it's literally nothing that she is getting like censored. I never know how to pronounce that word because my brain just tries to do censor. It's CENSURE, censored.
Censored, yeah.
Okay, she like I see the clip. It was like nothing, and
it's really nothing.
Yep, and the BBC was like, we're going to punish you. Burr, 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 burr. And everyone, and now there's like a lot of outcry from journalists to just be like, hey, don't.
Yeah, so the BBC came out and clarified it too, and they were like, well, listen, it's not that, it's just that, I think they were like, the BBC can't, put their opinion on anything political or whatever. But there was a thing last week where, so I can't remember if you guys talked about it on the podcast last week, but, there was a video going around of a guy in a hospital, and I think his like young daughter was sick, and Boris Johnson was there, and the guy accuses him of being there as like a press opportunity, and Boris Johnson goes, "There's no press here," but BBC have the video of it, and yeah, and so there was a whole thing about this, and then Laura Kuenssberg, who I think I'm just going to check this because I never know who represents who because the main British broadcasters are basically all the same at the moment. Yeah, BBC. She tweeted like, "Oh, turns out that guy from that video is actually a Labour activist," and then was like, "Here he is." And she's got like millions of followers. She's got 1.1 million followers.
She doxed that motherfucker?
Yeah. So the BBC being like, "Oh well, we can't present a party political spin on it. We just have to punish because them's the rules." Well, punish Laura Kuenssberg and sack her, please.
Oh my god. Oh.
And it's just another example of like the British press like swarming around a woman of colour, either being outspoken or like making a mistake in inverted commas. Like, it's such a big story, and once again it's been diverted off course to not really be about the fact that it was a racist comment and it's okay to call stuff racist.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Like, to say that a comment was racist does not... I mean, I know that's because... I don't know. It does not, like, to say... Like, I'm not going to say a slur here, but, like, to say a very racist thing and to say, yep, that is racist, that is, like, that is not forming an opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had another thing that I wanted to talk about U.S. coverage of something, but it's completely escaped me, and so I'm just going to move on.
Okay.
I guess we can move into shout-outs now? Unless you had anything else major that you really wanted to tackle?
Yeah, I would love to touch on the Labour conference, because that was this week.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize that we had... Yeah, sorry, go on, please.
And this is sort of a light note, actually, so... Brace yourself for some nice policy. You want some policy?
I'd love some policy.
I got some policy. A pledge to move to a 32-hour working week within 10 years and introduce free personal care for over 65s in England will have huge economic and social implications, says the BBC. Another big thing was Jeremy Corbyn said that they would scrap prescription fees, which is not something I have a great experience of because I live in Scotland and they're free here. But worth mentioning because that is one part of the British healthcare system that is problematic for, like, the NHS is wonderful, but that is one problematic area for it, is that you do have to pay prescription fees in England. But that comes down to the fact that a lot of that's been privatised and things like that, like pharmacies are quite often private. There was a proposal from the conference floor, so I presume that just means that maybe someone outside of the party themselves, calling for private schools to be integrated into the state sector and their assets redistributed, which caused the most controversy, which is fucking gnarly as hell. Let's go. And there was a bit of a desperate discourse of being like, well, if you don't have private schools, where are you going to get all your Guardian writers and all your left-wing writers as well? Well, they have to go to a private school too, which is cool.
What in the goddamn...
So that's great. There was some really, really nice policy. Let me just check.
You love it.
I love it. I live for it, and I love it.
Matt's not editing this week, nor is Matt on this podcast. Other Matt Prime. Matt's not here, nor is he editing, so he cannot edit in Brooke saying you love to see it.
You do love to see it.
But maybe Alex Leaf Crunch can when she touches up this file.
You do love
Alex Leaf Crunch.
Yeah, that's all I've got for the Labour conference, really.
So I guess we can move into shout-outs.
Sure.
So Kickstarter fired 2 union organizers a couple weeks ago. I don't remember if we touched on that on the podcast. It was not really much of a story beyond the fact that it had happened, and it was gross. But now Kickstarter has reached out to comment on it in an article that was published by Vice. And the CEO of Kickstarter, whose name is Aziz Hassan, he said, no, we did not fire those union laborers for union organize. We did not fire those union organizers for organizing unions. In the past, if you look over the entire track record of our company, we have sometimes promoted people who were vocal about unions and given raises to those people also. So, therefore, these people were just doing a really bad job at the time, and we can't give them special treatment. And then he said that a union framework is inherently adversarial, which is like, fucking, yeah, dude! Like, if it's not adversarial, why do you have a union? A union's point is to be adversarial. That's not like the reason it is created, but it is like one of the core tenets of a union is being adversarial to the workers being fucked over by the motherfuckers in their high-rise offices and with their golden parachutes and shit. Like, Aziz, of course it's inherently adversarial, motherfucker. They're trying to get you to take less than $12 billion from them or what the fuck ever. Like, yeah, dude, it's gonna be adversarial.
It's also pretty fucking adversarial to fire a bunch of people who have been organizing a union.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting that only one side is allowed to be adversarial.
Yeah.
Curious.
Here's a full quote from him. The union framework is inherently adversarial. That dynamic doesn't reflect who we are as a company, how we interact, how we make decisions, or where we need to go. We believe in many ways that it would set us back and that the us versus them binary already has. Motherfucker, the us versus them binary is happening because you treat your workers like shit, and every single company does. And it is not us versus them at this point. It is us versus, it is you. It is us versus you, us versus you, us versus you, each individual worker. The union makes it us versus them. If it is not us versus them with you, it is you, the the corporation against a single cog in your machine that you think you can just fucking swap out for another one at any point or obsolete it or do anything to it with just throw it to the fucking side. You scum shit motherfucker.
Fuck CEOs.
I get so mad. Like, these letters are coming out like once every 2 months now from like some press or some tech company, something or other that's just saying, I think unions are great, but I don't think they would work for us here. It's what Vox did when Polygon tried to unionize. It's what Vice did. It's what every single fucking company does in this day and age is to say, we like unions, but we don't like unions here. And it is the scummiest shit, and I am so goddamn tired of seeing it.
Yeah.
They don't want to set there's speculation flying around that they don't want to be the ones to set the precedent here, and like, why? You just don't want to. You just don't want to be the first fucking domino to fall. You don't want to like a precedent. What if we do it? No, you just don't want to be the first domino in line because you know that as soon as you get a union, every other fucking white collar tech company is going to get a union. Some of Google's employees got a union last week, or earlier this week. 80 contractors. They formed a union. But Kickstarter would be Kickstarter would be the first time a company has formed a union, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Like the Google stuff is like at a remote office out in Pittsburgh. It's not in the headquarters. But I digress. So here's a quote from the end of the Motherboard article. A Kickstarter employee told Motherboard this week that the union is contemplating asking the company to voluntarily recognize the union. Today's statement from Kickstarter says, we've said that it would be irresponsible of us to voluntarily recognize the union if asked. What part of that is irresponsible?
Irresponsible to who?
I don't know. To probably, I mean, irresponsible to their shareholders. Like, that's who it is. It's quote unquote irresponsible to everyone who has money invested in the company, whose numbers go down ever so slightly when they have to start treating everyone who works for them like a human fucking being. Okay, I've calmed down now.
They'll be gone soon. They'll all be gone.
God, not fucking soon enough. And then lastly, this kind of relates. This ties into a Tumblr. We actually had a Tumblr question a couple of weeks ago that we haven't touched on yet. But Futch Cassidy sent us a question. Hey, can y'all give us the lowdown on Extinction Rebellion? Are they good or bad? Desperate or eco-fash? And they were not directly responsible for the climate strike that happened this past week. Might have been 2 weeks ago at this point. I can't really remember. No, it was last week because it was the same day as the Area 51 thing. But they definitely like were a big fan. They definitely were like part of it. Like they were involved in it. I don't think they're eco-fash. I don't like eco-fash is like what I may not understand what the term eco-fash means, but to me, eco-fash has always been the people that are like that. Like it's a bit more accelerationist than anything than preventative. Just like yeah, let nature wipe us out. It's what we deserve. I could be wrong about that. I digress. You know what? I'm going to look it up.
I don't think they're eco-fash, but I did hear a thing a couple of weeks ago about their march or whatever it was in London that they were. Was this XR? They were. They had written a thing where they had said that they were willingly giving their information to the cops in London to justify their presence there. So they were giving like background details to the police, and they were encouraging other members of XR to do the same thing. Like,
okay, so I was completely wrong about what eco-fascist means. I'd like to interject with that real quick. An eco-fascist is a term that is used to describe, according to website Urban Dictionary, it's a person who seeks to dictate or control the behavior of others in the name of the environment. So thank you, UrbanDictionary.com, for that very unbiased
verified answer.
Yeah, I scrolled down and here's a great paragraph on UrbanDictionary.com. Eco-fascists are the de facto crusaders of what has become the religion of the American political left. That is environmentalism. I did not say that weird. What has become the religion of the American political left, semicolon, that is environmentalism. They use the guise of do-gooderism and the pretense of being some kind of environmental savior to justify their economically destructive actions, much the same way Hitler did to justify his actions.
What the fuck?
Right?
Boy, I sure hope nobody uses Urban Dictionary to like learn information about anything. Yeah. Ugh.
But yeah, it's you definitely did say that thing about them giving information to cops, which is not good. But I think writ large, that aside, I think writ large the XR is probably a net good. There's also an international rebellion happening in the UK on October 7th. So get out there, fight the powers that be.
Hell yeah! Just don't necessarily give your information to cops.
Yeah, give them if XR asks for your information, go ahead and like just change a couple letters in your name and a digit or two in your phone number.
Yeah.
And make sure you give them make sure you just tell them that your email address is pigpoopballs. Just spell out pigpoopballs.jpg@gmail.com. Oh God. Do you have any other shout outs?
No, don't think so.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through my Twitter real quick to see if I've curated any interesting news things. Actually, here's one that I did want to talk about. Facebook earlier this week announced that they will permit speech from politicians that violates community standards. So they are allowing the people with the largest audience to basically just go run amok on their fucking website. So they can just do whatever.
Is Facebook the new Gab? A new article for Wired.
Oh my God, Facebook is definitely Gab. Facebook is new Gab. Gab 2.
Oh man.
Oh God. Anyways, I'm out of shoutouts.
Yeah, me too.
Wait, no, sorry. There is one more thing. which is the basically the ruler by which all media websites measure themselves by, ComScore, which is to say this is a company that basically always told websites, you are doing this wrong, pivot to X, pivot to Y, do what the fuck ever. They're being charged by the SEC with fraud, which, as Austin Walker, personal favorite tweeter and podcaster and writer of mine, tweets, he says, why is everyone in online media tweeting about ComStore being charged with fraud? It's like, what if your most hard-assed English composition teacher who docked you points for typos and never explained why they gave a C+ instead of a B- beyond needs more? It's like if they got busted for plagiarism. Which is a very succinct way to put it. Very funny. Okay. All right. So that's going to be it for shout-outs. No, yes, shout-outs. That's what we call them. Do you have a Lightbringer?
I guess so. Yeah. This is a broader one.
Oh wait, sorry. We do have one more shout out that I would like to do, which is just a shout out to all of the cool and good new mods that we have added to the Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, Not a Threat, Just a Fact Discord server. Shouts out to Alex, Morg, Joe, and Sue for your help.
Woohoo!
Okay, you go for it.
I decided on an official title for my dissertation in my final year uni, and I'm writing about, just generally, because it makes me really happy, how, like, ARGs and, like, weird video game secrets, like stuff in the Shadow of the Colossus and stuff like that, gets people to, like, learn about, like, runes. Like, they might learn to read runes, or they might learn about, like, art history for something. And I think it's so cool that, like, it's such a really pure... It comes from such a pure place, like people trying to find out these video game secrets that don't even give you like in-game rewards or whatever. That these people are just like
sorry to interject.
Together.
Have you? Is this by any chance leading to talking about pop fiction?
About what? Sorry,
about pop fiction.
I don't know what that is actually, but this could be a great reference.
I'd like to make a recommendation to you, which is Are you familiar with the website Game Trailers by any chance?
Oh my god, you cut out there just as you were saying the website.
Game Trailers.
Game Trailers, yeah.
They had a series that ran for a while from like 2012 to like I believe until about when the site closed down. Called Pop Fiction. It was just it was a series of videos about these like playground myths that would spread around, like getting the golden gun in Halo 2 or finding Bigfoot in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, all that stuff. Yeah, and then that when that site broke up, and a lot of the people behind that site went on to make the site Easy Allies. They actually continued the series. Hold on, I'm going to look up what it's called. Pop Fiction.
This is cool as hell. I've been using quite a lot of YouTube stuff.
Yeah. All of Pop Fiction, and then the Easy Allies thing is called Game Sleuth.
Game Sleuth. Awesome. Yeah. I've written that down.
Hey, it's Alex in the edit here, and I just had to interject here to say bad news. Game Sleuth has been shelved as part of Easy Allies Phase 4. Bad timing, but it's not gone forever, hopefully.
Thank you. You've probably just helped me get a first in my dissertation. I should put pressure on myself.
You're welcome. Okay, what am I going to shout out? I have been... I'm gonna go back on my bullshit and recommend an anime that I've been watching. There was this show that aired a couple of seasons ago called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, and like that is a fucking tanker of a name, right? Like you hear that and you think this sounds like shit. I'm only a couple episodes in, so maybe it just goes full horny off the buckle in the next episode or two. But I'm finding myself really enamored by it. It does do a little bit of lampshading. It is on its... If you look at it and you look at like promotional images and you look at the opening, you see that you think maybe it's heading for like a harem setup of some variety.
Right.
But it does lampshade that a little bit, makes jokes about it, and I could do without those, but it's whatever. Because the rest of the story is genuinely so good and compelling. It's a coming of age story, which I've been really weak to in anime recently. Specifically, I'm going to point to Sara Zanmai, which was a very similar story, and it is very, very cute. It's very funny. It's very sweet. I'm loving it a ton. I cannot wait to watch more. And the intro is done by the Peggies, which also relating to Sara Zanmai because they did the outro for Sara Zanmai. But it's a really good show. I'm really, really digging it, and I'm excited to go watch more. Because the entire thesis of the show thus far is at least 3 episodes in is, bro, you are posting cringe, you are going to gain subscriber.
I love that you ended with that pitch, because I'd kind of built up an image of that, and then you said that at the end, and now I've got a completely different idea of what it is. I've got
like the third episode just talks about how it's like you if you go against the grain, you will post cringe, but if you go against the grain hard enough and you post enough cringe, you will gain subscriber.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so that wraps up this episode of Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, Not a Threat.
Just a fact.
I would like to just take a couple minutes to do all of the thanking. So thank you very much to the Taxpayers for the use of their song Evil Men off the album Cold Hearted Town as our intro music. It's a great song, great album. Thank you to Noisepace.xyz, the podcast incubator that is so graciously hosted by Matt GameCube, our Lord and Savior. If you want to listen to a podcast on there, I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and listen to Jurgen which is the Secret Life of the American Teenager recap podcast with occasional host of the show, Sam, and his brother, Jordan. I was on the most recent episode, and I said some words, and it was a very fun time. Oh no, I'm starting to get sick. I better not be. Ugh, that didn't sound good. Thank you to Reddit user Bisexual Punch Party for maintaining our subreddits, which is reddit.com/r/HKIPGTD. We are HKIPGTD everywhere. Twitter, Gmail, Facebook, Reddit, like I just said, and Patreon. If you would like to support the podcast, patreon.com/HKIPGTD. $1 a month gets you access to any pre-post shows, bonus content, any of that stuff. We've got a couple of cut for times up. We've got a couple of extended Lightbringers. Most recently, we finally put out part 1 of our A Storm of Swords Lightbringer. Sorry. $5 a month gets your name right on the podcast and a special user status in our Discord. Come join our Discord, by the way. It's really fun and cool. $10 a month lets you get your name right on the podcast, and you also get to listen to the show live, and you get a more special role in our Discord. It's yellow, which means you're better. So thank you very much, too. All right, I'm going to go for a classic here. Burgermeister, Stephanie Ruff, Pregnant Seinfeld, David Besser, Alex Schaub, Six Arm Sweater, Bryce, The Sexual Fish Tank, Ashley New, Alex Hoot, Dick Butt is the Real Jesus, Maximilian Rohr, Tufster McGee, Brian, Nick Clarkson, Kadeho, Flo Siegel, Destry Hawk, Peel the Disaster, The Tallest Jew, Michael Williams, Non-Binary with Left Beast, Summer Guys, DJ Nice, Chaz Goblin, Paul Blart, Fleshcar, and Ellen the Anarcho-Lalondeist. Thank you very much for all of your support. If you want to find me, you can check out my other podcasts on Noisepace, Fear Baiting, which is my horror movie podcast that I do with a rotating cast of guests. For the next month, it's going to be all bad horror movies. It's going to be old former host, current editor of the podcast, Blair, joining me for all of them. We have a great rotating cast of guests, including some of your favorite Noisepace podcasters. And that's going to be, we're going to be streaming the movies too. That's going to be fun. I also do the Wonder Years, which is an Animorphs podcast that I do with my friends Seda and the aforementioned Blair. And you can find me on Twitter at SunhatGenya, ZHENYA, and Sunhat is just spelled like it sounds. Matt.
I also do a radio show on subcity.org occasionally called Me, Myself, and IMDb. It's a movie podcast. It's very fun and very funny, and there should be more episodes soon. And you can find me on Twitter at MattLSteven with a PH.
Nice. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, Not a Threat. Just a fact.
Oh, sorry. You cut out as you were saying it, and I was like,
oh, no problem.
Just a fact.
And as always, Memento Pokemori.
Memento Pokemori.
That's deep. And
you do love to see it.